All right, so let's get started on modifying some of our code here with directives. Um, Real quick, a directive is essentially, I like to think of it as a marker that kind of sits on your HTML that Angular can recognize and will be able to interpret it, and it gives us usually either some kind of structural functionality, like maybe showing or hiding something, or it might just change something about that element. So let's start this with an ngIf. So on this div that has our paragraph that has books and stuff in it, I'm going to add asterisk ngIf equals books dot length is not equal to 0. So, and you can even read this just like a regular old if statement. Books.length greater than 0. Oh, cool. Books.length greater than 0. So if, ngIf, the books.length is greater than 0, we should see books and stuff. Let's go take a look at that in here. And cool, so I don't have a book yet, so let me just test it. Let's say it's a really good book. So I'll hit add book, and books and stuff pops up. Sure, we don't get the actual value of the book, but we are able to show and hide something. So here I've refreshed, the book is gone. Again, I add a book, and we have books. Books and stuff, really. All right. So then what if we want to display that no book was created until we make one? We can use a local variable, an ng template, to basically create the else part of the statement. Within the quotes here for our ngIf, after the 0, let's add a semicolon, and we're going to say else no book. And then down below, underneath the div, we're going to add ng template. Then we're going to add a pound sign, no, capital B, book. In between these ng template tags, I'm going to add a p tag and say no book created. And what we've done here with this pound sign, no book, is we're creating a local reference. A local reference is a type of like directive that Angular can recognize, and it's going to see that else no book here, and then using ng template, it will create this template, and if we are meeting this this else scenario here, so if books.length is 0, it's going to render this no book created section. So let's test that out real quick. Let's go see what it's like. Yeah, so we have no book created right here. Again, let's add a book. Yeah, cool. Yeah, sure, test. It's a comic now. It's not that great. Cool. So I add a book again, and I get books and stuff to show up. If I refresh, I get this message saying no book created. So now let's look at another kind of directive here. We're going to look at ngFor. So inside our create book component, on this div here for our if, let's change this to, in our p tag, we're going to say asterisk ngFor equals let book of books, and then let's select everything that's currently in books and stuff right here inside this p tag, and we're going to start using that interpolation here. Notice we're going to use book here because we're doing this ngFor, we get access to that book again. So we're going to say book dot name of book. And there's a comma after here too. So comma by book dot author. Add a period at the end of that one. A book dot genre book written in book dot pub year and then we're going to add it is book dot rating. Awesome. So now if we're just looking at this, like reading it straight verbatim, if our books.length is not equal to 0, we're going to create a p tag and we're going to ngFor over it. So then for every book in this books, which is defined in our createBook component.ts as an empty array. So for every book in books, we're going to render book name by book author, a book genre book written in book pub year, and then we're going to say it is book rating. If we don't have any value in that books array, we're not going to render anything because we have this, well, we are going to render something, but we're not going to add for through all of those books. Instead, we're going to render this ngTemplate section that has a local reference of no book, again, that's matching up here to this else statement on our ngIf. So let's save this and let's try to create a book and get it to display. So I'll add test by test. Genre is cookbook. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not that great, but I'll hit add book, and now we get test by test, a cookbook book, written in 1, 2, 3, 4. It is 1 stars. Awesome. So now we have an ngFor here. We've got an ngIf. I'll refresh it and let's see that again. There we go. Yeah, no book created. Cool. So now let's maybe try to display this content in a different component. Let's go back to our code. We'll keep the form in the create book, but we're going to move the display to our display books. So I'll hit enter here to give ourselves some space. We're going to keep the form of the create component. Cool. So our first goal here with displaying this content in another component is to go ahead and chop out this div. I'm sorry, not the whole div, just this p tag. We're going to take out the p tag, and we're going to take out this ngTemplate here. That leaves us with just this div here. And we're going to, inside this div, add an app, display, books. And on our app display books, we're going to add that ngFor directive. We're going to say let book of books. So now for every book in our books array, we're going to now render an app display books. Right now, if we go take a look at it, I can add a book now. But when I hit add book, we just get books are cool. Maybe we'll get many. Yeah, so we can for each through them now. So we're going to for through all of these books. But we're not displaying any content about the books yet. So let's go ahead and fix that in our next section.